Every relationship we form in our adult lives is a reflection rather than a replica of our early childhood experiences. These adult relationships, including romantic ones, contain echoes of our past bonds, pleasures, wounds, and fulfilled or unfulfilled needs that tend to resurface from time to time and shape our preferences in romantic partners, friends, colleagues, and all other significant people in our lives. Our romantic lives especially reflect that continuity from our earliest emotional bonds to our present love interests. Hey everybody, welcome to Psychology Element. This video will be focusing on the ways your childhood affects your love styles. And by the end of this video, you'll have a good grasp on the topic of attachment styles. So make sure to watch until the end of the video, because it might help you to better understand your own emotional needs and how they are connected to both your past and present emotional experiences. This may help you become better equipped with knowledge on how to create healthy and fulfilling relationships. It is almost redundant to say that our most significant relationships begin with our experiences with our primary caregivers, which are parents for most people. As infants, we are helpless and dependent on them to satisfy not only our basic biological needs that are essential for our survival, but also our emotional needs, which are important for our feelings of safety, security, and stability. In other words, an infant needs to create attachment with caregiving figures in his or her life in order to have the aforementioned needs met. So, what is attachment? Attachment is a deep and enduring physical and emotional connection between a child and a caregiver that is established in the early years of a child's life. The quality of this attachment determines to a large extent the characteristics of that child's emotional life and relationships later in life, which form into emotional patterns known as attachment styles. The theory of attachment was conceived and developed by the psychoanalyst John Bowlby, who was trying to understand intense distress infants that infants would experience when separated from their parents. During the subsequent decades, the theory was tested and refined to more accurately describe the phenomenon of attachment and its development through a life course. In order to understand different attachment styles in both children and adults in romantic relationships, we must first outline three identified dimensions that characterize attachment patterns: closeness, dependence and avoidance, and anxiety. Closeness refers to the extent a person feels comfortable being intimate with another person. Dependence, or avoidance, describes how much a person feels comfortable depending on someone else or having someone else depend on them. Anxiety is a person's level of worrying about whether their partner will abandon or reject them. Based on these dimensions, several models of attachment in adult romantic relationships were proposed, but the most commonly accepted one is a model conceived by Bartholomew and Horowitz in 1991, which is composed of four categories of adult attachment. Number 1. Secure attachment style is characterized by mostly positive thoughts about themselves and of other people. Individuals who are mostly securely attached tend to feel comfortable with intimacy a healthy relationship requires. They are interested in entering close, warm, and loving relationships in which they demonstrate kindness, empathy, tolerance, and trust. This kind of person is able to openly communicate their feelings, to understand and respond to their partner's needs, and to openly and kindly discuss potential issues in the relationship without avoiding conflict. These people allow their partners to depend on them in their times of need, just like they don't have a problem with depending on their partner. They're able to maintain their independence while simultaneously being intensely close to their partner. Accepting their partner's need for separateness without feeling rejected is also one of their key characteristics. They don't tend to hold grudges from past relationships and are able to implement their insight to realistically assess why those relationships didn't work. This kind of person is consistent, mostly confident, and well emotionally regulated. What kind of childhood is likely to produce this kind of adult attachment? These individuals were most probably securely attached even as children. Their parents were probably sensitive, empathic, warm, caring, consistent, and attuned and responsive to their child's needs. In other words, those parents were probably securely attached as well. If you possess these attachment patterns and childhood experiences, you are indeed lucky. It is important to know that nobody is completely securely attached, since life itself, with all its obstacles, isn't perfect, but this attachment style does give an idea of what an ideal attachment style would be. Number 2. Dismissive avoidant attachment style is a pattern present in people who have mostly positive self-image and negative image of others. They display a dismissive attitude toward intimacy and possess strong independence. These individuals often feel emotionally distant and rejecting in their romantic relationships, where their partner will often seek more closeness, while they will always be prioritizing autonomy over togetherness. They are dismissive of intimacy because they equate it with the loss of independence. Of course, this implies that they are not likely to let their partner depend on them, or the other way around. Their communication and verbal style is intellectual, cool, distant, and devoid of much emotional expression. They generally avoid conflict, but have a tendency to suddenly snap from time to time. Their narrow emotional range prevents them from experiencing joy in intimacy, mutuality, and sharing. However, they are good at keeping their cool in crises and can make for excellent leaders due to their tendency to take charge. Their childhood was probably characterized by an unresponsive caregiver who also devalued the importance of emotional closeness and rejected the child's attempt to be intimate, which resulted in the child's internalization of the belief that they can't depend on that or any other relationship. By the way, if you're finding this video insightful so far, then make sure to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and why not subscribe so you can keep learning more? It's free. Number 3. Anxious preoccupied attachment style is distinct from previous attachment styles in that people who display it tend to hold negative attitudes toward themselves and positive attitudes toward others. This means that they are likely to seek approval from their significant other to boost their own self-esteem. Their main characteristic is that they are preoccupied with relationships. This is reflected in their constant worrying that their partner may be slipping away and that they will be abandoned. Their lack of healthy boundaries can scare the partner away, which leads the person with this attachment style to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. They are highly emotional and prone to argumentativeness, combativeness, and angry and controlling behavior. Their communication style is one-sided, where they will often be unable to accept responsibility for their mistakes and the relationship. They are often moody and tend to stir up conflict, through which they find it easier to connect to their partner. As children, these people were most likely raised by anxiously attached individuals who were neither consistent nor reliable in providing responsive care to their child. The child who is now an anxiously attached adult would avoid interacting with the mother unless the mother was 100% present and willing to give the child her undivided attention, in which case the child would do anything to maintain that close contact with the mother. Number 4. Fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style is a pattern characterized by a person's negative evaluations of both themselves and other people. They are fearful of intimacy and socially avoidant. They often display residuals of their unresolved past traumas and losses that haven't been mourned. They cannot tolerate emotional closeness in romantic relationships and are prone to sending mixed signals of simultaneously pushing away and craving more connection. Their poor emotional regulation often leads to contradictory emotional impulses and frequent frustrations that manifest as argumentativeness and rage. They will often enter abusive and dysfunctional relationships that feel like a recreation or reenactment of their own dysfunctional childhood environments. These people are also likely to lack empathy and authenticity and develop narcissistic, and in some cases, even antisocial tendencies. As children, these people are very likely to have displayed behaviors which lacked any real purpose and engaged in contradictory thoughts and behaviors. They usually had parents who lacked the capacity to regulate their child's emotions and displayed either frightened or frightening behaviors as reactions to their child's unresolved attachment traumas. The end result was that these infants were forced to rely on parents they were afraid of. At the same time, it is important to mention that people often display characteristics of more than one attachment style, and the dominant style is then taken into consideration when discussing their attachment issues. The importance of these attachment styles in entering and maintaining romantic relationships is self-evident, but it is also important to remember that people don't have to be defined by their childhood experiences. These attachment styles can and do change in people who are willing to put in the effort to introspect and self-reflect. Which one of these attachment styles best describes your emotional patterns? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like the video, then make sure to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more videos on psychology. And make sure to check out our Love and Relationships playlist for more. And thanks for watching.